Hello, welcome back to episode 2. I'm your host Harry, and here is my co host Julia. And today we are diving into a topic that affects millions around the globe, and it's called natural disaster. And from hurricanes and earthquakes to wildfires and floods, these events just remind us that how powerful nature can be.
Exactly. Can you see what was happening in our university for the past few weeks? We encountered heavy rain and it started flooding. Even now, we can see that the weather is quite dark and we're expecting to have a heavy rain again.
Yeah, that was quite an experience, right?
Yes, but guess what? In today's episode, we're going to dive more into the topic by interviewing some of our fellow university students and hear their thoughts about natural disaster and how they will respond to it when it occurs.
Well, I'm very excited to hear from them. So, shall we start, go and ask them?
Yes, we shall.
Okay, let's go. So here we are at a beautiful spot and we will be interviewing some of the students about the natural disaster. So let's find some of the students to ask their opinions on the natural disaster. So let's start. Excuse me, can I have a minute with you guys?
Yes, of course.
Okay, you can hold this.
Uh-huh.
So let's start with it. Can you introduce yourself?
Okay, hi, I'm Sandra from second year ideation and currently studying at Bangkok University International.
Okay, so the first question would be what types of natural disaster are like most common in your region or like in your country?
Okay, since I'm from Myanmar, the most common ones are kind of like earthquake, flooding, and tropical storms or cyclones.
Okay, so the next question is like, have you ever experienced this kind of natural disaster? If so, like, how did you respond to that natural disaster?
Okay, so I have experience since back then in 2008, the cyclone called Nagit. Like it was so bad, and you know what? Like at that time, I was a kid, so I didn't know what was happening, and I didn't expect to be that worse. And the first thing I saw was my dad and my grandpa trying to fix the roof of our house that would be flood away because of the wild wind and the heavy rain. And that moment, the first thing I did was trying to carry out the most important documents or file to the secure place. And also, the surrounding situation was so massive because the branches of the trees were cracking, and in some places they were crashing to the houses or the streets and the road. So yeah, that was very terrible.
Okay, so you've give us the good answers about the question. So can we move on to your friends?
Sure.
So let's start with you. Can you introduce yourself?
Hello, I'm Ham and I also second year student for IT Asia.
Okay, so your question would be like, do you think that these kind of climate change make the natural disaster like more frequent? If so, why?
Of course, the climate change is really affecting all the hydrological cycle,
Yes.
like making the storm more frequent and intense. And there's a lot of scientific evidence. So back in this, as the Earth temperature is increased, like due to how do how is the human activity like burning fossil fuels and deforestation. So it can cause significant changes in our climate system. So for instance, like the floods is the most common natural disaster and have affected the rest of the world. So the link between the climate change and the flood is pretty clear. The higher temperature causes the more evaporations, and it can lead to the denser clouds holding more moisture. So it can causes like heavier rainfall and increase the chance of floods.
Flooding. Okay, so next question would be like, are there any of the innovative project that it's like managing in disaster that have caught you recently? And if so, can you explain in details about that project?
Yes. So an innovative project that caught my attention is Naturally Brave project from the Australia, so which educates the student about the natural disaster, like using the 3D design technology and the how to call it, the indigenous land management insights.
Okay, so you guys give a good answers on your question. So we have to say bye bye and thank you for your question and the answers. Okay.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Hi, it's okay to have a minute with you. We would like to hear your thoughts on natural disaster and how you will respond to it when it occurs.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So to get started, could you please introduce yourself to our audience?
Well, my name is Demi, and I am second year marketing student at Bangkok University International.
Okay, so for the first question, I would like to hear your thoughts on how you would prepare yourself and your belongings if a flood warning were issued?
Well, if the flood warning was issued, my immediate concern would be safety and like securing essential documents. And if like evacuation is recommended, I will leave the area as soon as possible. And for my belonging, maybe I will place essential documents like passport, medical record, or maybe insurance, maybe yeah, in a waterproof bag or plastic bag. And like I will also create emergency kit for like food, water, flashlight, or and like first aid kits. And yeah, and if like time was permit, I will like how do I turn off the utilities to reduce like potential damage. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, so for the next question, I would like to hear what actions would you take if an earthquake occurred while you were in class?
In the class, well, if an earthquake happened while I was in the classroom, the first thing I will do is like I quickly drop to the floor to prevent being knocked over by the shaking, and I would take cover under like steady desk and table, and also, I think if there's nothing to hide under, I will probably go and into a wall away from the windows and like to protect myself from the falling debris. And then also, yeah, and then I think I will stay in place like until the shaking stop. And also, I wouldn't rush myself to go out like, and then because the earthquake can cause falling debris both indoors and outdoors. So after the shaking is stopped, maybe I will check on my classmate and I will like follow the teachers or school staff instruction to evacuate the building safely. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, so yeah, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much for having me in your interview.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so everyone, after this one, shall we move to another one and let's hear another person's thought?
Okay, so we found another student to interview, so let's go and interview him. Let's go. Hello, can I sit here?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Okay, thank you. So I would like to ask you some of the things about the natural disaster. So would that be okay for you?
Natural disaster. Sure.
Okay,
Why
thank
not?
you. So can we start with the introduction first?
Oh, yes. And my name is Curtis. I'm currently studying at entrepreneurship, and I'm second year student.
Okay, great. So the first question would be like, do you think our university does well in preparing for natural disaster, like the flooding, and why or why not?
No, I think it's not so much. Yeah. As you can see, like when it's rained one time around our campus and Soilang Sipilom, there's a lot of water. Yeah, it's turned into just like a water park, and also have a lot of motorcycle was floating in the water.
Yes. So the next question would be like, we are living in Thailand, so what type of natural disaster are affected in here?
In here, I might say flood, yeah, flooding. Yeah, especially like where I came from, at the border of Tachilek and Myanmar, between Myanmar and Thailand. Like 2 weeks ago, yeah, there was heavily damaged by the flooding, and also my house. You can see like the first floor, right? The first floor there was damaged by the flooding, and also all of my cars in my house also gone. Yeah, and also for the unlucky people, some of them they also like lost their life, something like that.
Due to
Very
the
sad.
flooding.
Yeah.
Yes. So thank you so much for your answers. You did a great job. So let's wrap up here.
Yeah, thank you too, and thank you for interviewing me. Yeah.
Okay, so now why don't we reach out to another one? Okay, I wonder who is in here. Ah, okay, so there is someone's over there. Why don't we go and ask him? Okay, so come with me. Yes. Hi. Yes. Is it okay to have a minute with you? We would like to hear your thoughts on natural disaster and how you will respond to it when it occurs. Is it okay for you?
Sure.
Okay, so to get started, could you please introduce yourself to our audience?
Hi everybody, I'm Andre from ITHM and I'm currently studying in my first year here.
Okay, so Andre, for the first one, I would like to hear your opinions on how education take plays in like raising awareness about natural disaster?
Mm. So like students learn the most when they're in school, right? So from personal experience in my old school, they also like teach us about natural disasters. Like teachers can teach students how to prevent natural disasters, how to mitigate them, and also to raise awareness on what type of disaster they're gonna face soon. So like it's important that right now, especially with how the weather is, that it's important to raise awareness with how natural disasters are happening.
Okay, Andre. So for the next question, I would like to hear how would you define natural disaster, and then which one do you think is the most dangerous?
So a natural disaster coming from its name is naturally occurring. And like to identify it as a natural disaster is how big of an effect it had on a community or a society. So like for example, an earthquake, it can be identified as a natural disaster if how big of an effect it had on the entire landmass. So the most dangerous natural disaster, in my opinion, is an earthquake and a flood. A flood, of course, because of how the storms are right now in Thailand, where it can like cause like inconvenience to like so many students right now. Because when you go outside of Bangkok University, you can barely walk or commute because the flood is covering the entire area. And an earthquake, because from personal experience, an earthquake like devastated my entire village and my city, so it was inconvenient for us to like go to school, to work, and overall like how to think how we can survive because the resources we had were like uh, not that much and we weren't prepared for an earthquake. So that's why like I consider a flood and an earthquake as the most dangerous disasters.
Yes, yes, I totally understand that. And thank you so much for your time and giving us for interview. Yes, so that's all. And then thank you so much and have a great day.
Thank you. Have a great day
Okay.
as well.
Come, come, hurry. Come and have a seat.
Okay. So let's wrap up our question here, and thank you to our interviewees for their valuable insights on natural disasters.
Absolutely. It's been an eye-opening conversation, and we hope it's inspired by everyone who watched our video. And it's valuable to take action, whether it's educating yourself or preparing for the community.
Yeah, and don't forget that we are part of a larger community, whether we are on campus, in hometown, or globally. Coming together as a community is essential, right?
Yes, that's all for today, and thank you so much for everyone who joined us today. Stay safe, stay prepared, and keep making a change in the community.
Yeah, stay tuned for more exciting content for the next episodes, and make sure to follow our channel for more informative content. So, bye
Bye
bye.
bye.